Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you all had a good Halloween. I know I did, although I probably doubled my weight in candy and booze, among other things. But yeah, it's time to talk more wrestling. This video is going to be predominantly TNA, but I did want to address a few WWE things as well, because in my last video, I talked about Hell in a Cell and a few of the things that happened on Raw, but I didn't talk about the Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels segment, which kind of shocks me. Another major memory brain fart that I have. This is going to become a regular thing with my videos. It's a sign of me getting older and more senile. Basically, my thoughts on the Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels segment were... My thoughts were that it was great. It was a fantastic segment. And I did want to put it over. I thought it was a great interaction between Michaels and Bryan. And by the end of it, I think I ended up liking Daniel Bryan even more, which was, in my eye, that was the goal of the segment, to do that. And Shawn kind of came off like an asshole, because his character's always had kind of this thing with him where he's like, well, every bad thing I do is okay because I'm Shawn Michaels. And even when he's a babyface, he kind of has that attitude. So I rather enjoyed watching Daniel Bryan put him in his place and, break his arm and tap him out or whatever he did. Of course, that led into the whole Wyatt's segment, which... I did talk about that a little bit and how much I love the idea of a Daniel Bryan and CM Punk team up against the Wyatts. I think that's a really cool idea. And again, I think I mentioned this before, but it is a good starting point to kind of get Punk and Bryan interacting with each other and then leading that into WrestleMania. Whether or not they do that, I don't know. I'm just assuming. It could also be, if the Wyatts are acting on the orders of the McMahons, which I assume they are, then that could be a good launch pad to get the Shield and the Wyatts interacting together. Maybe at Survivor Series we could see something like 6 versus 6 elimination tag. The Shield and the Wyatts versus Punk, Bryan, the Usos, and the Rhodes. How's that for a Survivor Series match? I'd be all over that. That'd be cool. You're probably thinking, where does Miz where does Miz fit in all that? My answer to that is, who cares? Come on, you got Punk, Bryan, Usos, Rhodes, and Miz at this point in his career is somewhere right around yeah. But yeah, that's just the way it is right now. But I'm really looking forward to a Punk and Bryan versus Wyatt's feud, and I think that could be really good. So I did want to put that segment over, though, between Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan, because I thought it was very, very, very well done. Could it be teasing a Shawn Michaels-Daniel Bryan match down the road? I doubt it. I think it was just the retired guy kind of making the current big babyface star look good. I think that's all it was. And for that, it was very, very good. I'm not going to be counting on a Daniel Bryan-Shawn Michaels match anytime soon. I think it could add fuel to a Daniel Bryan-Triple H match, which I would be all over. I usually don't get excited about Triple H matches, but that's one I'd really like to see, just because of the way they built it and the great character interactions and the way... both of their viewpoints have been represented in the storyline. That's a match I'd like to see, and hopefully when they do eventually do it, it's not a squandered opportunity, and hopefully they get something really good out of it, because I think it could be really big. So, there's that. Now, let's go into TNA. I said a while ago that I wasn't going to talk about Hulk Hogan leaving TNA until I was absolutely sure that he was gone. Like, this is it. Hogan's gone from TNA. This is it. The run's over. I avoided talking about it because I wasn't fully convinced that Hogan was gone. Now, looking at it, I think you can pretty much see, yeah, Hogan's gone. Yeah, Hogan. I think Hogan, apparently Bischoff has gone home and he's pretty much done with the company. So the Hogan-Bischoff run appears to be over with TNA. That could change. I don't know. Maybe Hogan will show up at WrestleMania 30 for a guest spot or something. I don't know. But as it stands right now, it looks like it's Hogan and Bischoff are pretty much gone. And if that's the case, I think we can sum up that the Hogan run in TNA was a failure. It did not take them to the next level, brother, like TNA thought it would, or like Hogan thought he could get them to that level. Hogan's presence there didn't translate into any kind of greater financial success, whether it be pay-per-view buys or attendance or pretty much anything else. I mean, they got the initial ratings boost, but that was about it. And actually, if you look at where their ratings are now, Hogan's actually leaving them in a worse place than he did before he got there. So, obviously, the whole Hulk Hogan experiment in TNA didn't work. It didn't help that the shows were typically pretty bad. Like 2010, things got pretty bad. 2011 was a very dry, flat show. 2012 was actually, that was the best year of the Hogan run. 2012 is actually not a bad year. That was because they focused so much on Bobby Roode and Austin Aries, largely. And James Storm as well. They were kind of the three big stars that year, and it was actually, oh, hey, this is the most interesting thing TNA's done in a while. Then 2013 started off good, and then kind of went ice fucking cold to the point where it's like, okay, we're right back down in the dregs, and now apparently they're pretty much confirmed. They're going back to the Impact Zone. Hooray. It's a different soundstage, but they're going back to Orlando. Hooray. Yeah, there's all these talks and rumors that the Carters want to sell TNA, and, you know, who's ever going to buy, I don't know. Right now, it's just not looking good. It looks like TNA's just going right back to where they were before Hogan got there. And obviously, like I said, Hogan didn't contribute anything good to TNA. He provided them with an initial ratings boost and some attention right away. And that was pretty much it. It never really translated into anything. It didn't translate into better stories, which that was the big thing. It's like, look, I mean, Hogan's going to generate some attention. Okay, cool. You got to write the good stories to complement it. And right away, you saw things like AJ turned heel. The Nasty Boys were brought in. They introduced all these characters that didn't make sense, like Shawn Morley. They tried to give him another run, which I liked Val Venus back in the day, not old, bald, coming off of years of being a jobber Val Venus. And he couldn't even be Val Venus because of the gimmick, but the gimmick's owned by WWE. So yeah, the Hogan experiment in TNA just didn't work, and only left TNA in a worse spot than they were in before, ultimately. And, we'll see where TNA stands going forward, but it looks like they're kind of just pressing the reset button and just going back to 2009 before Hogan got there, and we're just going to keep moving forward from there. One major thing I did want to talk about is the recent angle that they're doing with AJ Styles, where he wins the title and then he walks out of the company, and now they're going to have a tournament to crown a new champion. Does this sound familiar? Yes, it sounds exactly like the CM Punk 2011 angle that the WWE did, and obviously Punk's departure from the WWE was a lot more exciting, garnered a lot more attention, and was a lot more shocking. And actually, James Walsh, who I work with over at WrestlingEpicenter.com, had a great line where he said, WWE can afford to rip off TNA. TNA can't afford to rip off WWE because it just makes them look like WWE light. See, WWE's been accused of ripping off TNA in the past for a couple of things here and there, people said that Lay Cool was a ripoff of the Beautiful People, and there was the whole, I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, when TNA was doing the Dixie Carter AJ angle, they immediately started doing something with Cena and AJ that was very similar, which I'm thinking, why the hell would you rip off that angle? But okay. I mean, granted, they didn't bring Claire Lynch in, but it was still eerily similar. But the point is that WWE, if they do a thing that TNA did, they're broadcasting that thing to a much wider audience that never saw what TNA did, so they can get away with it. TNA is pretty much, their entire fan base is made up of wrestling fans, most of which you probably, if they don't watch WWE, they definitely follow it to some degree. You can't rip off WWE storylines and then present it as your own. You can't do it. It just seems like a cheap trick, old hat, and kind of, lacking in creativity. Now, the one thing I will give them credit for with this AJ angle is that they're actually going to have him defend the belt in other companies. Like, apparently he's going to AAA, and apparently he's going to be defending the belt in Japan. So he's going to be out of the company defending the belt in various places that I assume TNA is building business relationships with, that's a good idea, I guess, if that's what they're doing. I think that, from a business standpoint, I think that's a good idea. While in TNA, they're going to crown a new champion, presumably a new heel that Dixie Carter is going to latch onto as part of their storyline. And then ultimately, they'll bring AJ back and do the champion versus champion storyline. That, to me, is a better way to present the angle, because the thing that killed the CM Punk angle in the WWE, to me anyway, and it wasn't Kevin Nash's involvement, where he ultimately ended up feuding with Triple H, a feud that nobody wanted. It wasn't bringing in Johnny Ace as the bad guy. It wasn't any of the stuff that they did months down the road. It was 8 days after he left the company, CM Punk comes back. And to me, that kind of deflated the whole angle, because they could have gotten so much out of Punk simply not being there, simply not being under contract with the WWE in storylines. They could have gotten so much out of that. Have him appear at independent shows. They could have had him. They had him confront Triple H at Comic-Con right before the Raw where he came back, and that was great. You just could have had him be this specter that kind of haunted the WWE, and his departure and the attitude that he brought to that whole angle could have infected like the entire show, and you could have seen guys come in and adopt CM Punk's personality. Like, I had an idea where WWE, and this would be a storyline, where WWE would try to sign the Kings of Wrestling, Claudio Castagnoli and Chris Hero, who obviously they are signed, and Antonio's on TV, Chris Hero is not at this point in time, but they would try to sign them, and Claudio and Chris Hero would say something like, well, our reputation is similar to that of CM Punk's, who was very independent-based and everything, and we saw how you treated him and how he treated you ultimately. So unless you give us this, this, and this, and this, we're not going to sign with your company, because we are the best damn tag team in the world. We're the best on the market right now. You pay us what we deserve. We're not going to take like the standard WWE developmental contract or whatever and make a storyline out of it where guys kind of... and it could be the more independent guys, kind of, that came from independent wrestling, like rebelling against the company and rebelling against the system. They could have worked Daniel Bryan into that as well. But none of that happened, because they brought CM Punk back 8 days later, and he just was part of the system again. And all the potential of CM Punk being the true WWE champion, but not under contract with the company and outside doing whatever the hell he wanted with the championship belt, that was all squandered, and that was really a shame to me. I felt like they really kind of halted what could have been a really, really great and fascinating storyline, and something that had never really been done before. And that would have been interesting. So if TNA is doing something like that, I guess I can give them credit for at least trying to give the story the proper telling that it should get. But it's still not as interesting as when Punk did it. It just feels like they're just ripping off the CM Punk thing. But if they can get a big, battle of who is the true TNA champion out of it, and if they can, build business relationships by having AJ go to AAA or go to Japan or whatever, and maybe do a talent exchange at some point, that would benefit TNA right there, and at least it would give them some kind of a direction. Which is something that they've been sorely lacking for months, pretty much since Lockdown. I mean, Lockdown, the ending to that show was so hot, and then they went fucking cold right afterwards. So, hopefully, I don't know. I don't really know. It's just that TNA's kind of a mess right now. I didn't watch Impact this week. I decided to watch some horror movies, namely Halloween. Bit on the nose, I know, but to watch Halloween on Halloween, but I did, and Night of the Living Dead. I decided to watch horror movies that are decades old and I've seen a million times over Impact, and that's kind of where TNA ranks right now. It's just so hopefully they're able to turn that around, create some interest in their product. And with Hogan gone, that's a major financial expenditure that you don't have to worry about anymore. So maybe with him gone and not sucking up so much money, you can kind of rebuild that roster that you cut so thin. And I don't know what the schedule is going to be though. Like if they're going off the road for Impact, does that mean that they're going off the road for house shows too? I don't know. I have no idea. Are the Carters going to sell TNA? I don't know. I have no idea. That's just one of those we'll have to wait and see things. But yeah, I sound so bored talking about TNA, but that's just kind of how it is right now. The only reason I'm doing this video actually is because Deluxe Man messaged me to let me know. It's like, look, you said you were going to do a video about Hogan and Bischoff leaving TNA, and it looks like they're pretty much gone. And it's like, and I read that message. I was like, oh god, I did say that, didn't I? Okay, well, might as well do that. But yeah, TNA is just so flat right now, but I think Hogan being gone and just admitting that that whole thing was just a failure, maybe they can just kind of reset, reboot, go back to square one, and just focus on putting on a good product. Just focus on, don't worry about bringing in MMA guys or big names, bells and whistles to try and liven up the product. Because you're just inserting big names into a shitty product at the moment. Just focus on making a good product. And just kind of building your base all over again and just work from there and see what happens. I don't know. But, yeah, that's all I have for now. Again, hope you all had a good Halloween. Hope you all have a good weekend. And I'll be back sometime next week to talk about something else. I actually still have my Mystery Science Theater tribute video that I filmed part of back in September, and I haven't posted it yet. I think I said initially that I was going to post it in November, so that'll be coming sometime this month. When I run out of ideas, you'll be seeing that Mystery Science Theater pop up. So when you see the Mystery Science Theater video pop up, you know I ran out of ideas for that week, or I had nothing to talk about or whatever. So I also have another Survivor Series video planned for later in the month. I was actually going to do the Survivor Series video I was going to do last year, and I ran out of time and didn't do it, so I'm going to do it this year, and hopefully you all enjoy that special video as well. But until then, that's all I have for now, and y'all enjoy your weekend.